going on, everyone? Welcome to KSU Nation, the best K-State and Big 12 podcast out there. I'm CVB, and we are talking about the biggest news of the day. Chris Klieman at Kansas State University is retiring. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, tell your friends, and consider joining the channel. So, a lot of news this week. Obviously, this is the end of the season, though a lot of colleges are no longer waiting until the end of the season to fire someone or hire someone. And Kansas State University is now without a head football coach. This moved way quicker than I had anticipated. I had heard about this last night. I was talking to my wife today. I was like, man, I cannot believe like everyone else found out about this today. Like I heard about this last night. And she goes, you know who else heard about it last night? And I was like, who? She goes, me. So my wife, she knew about this happening last night as well. So I heard about it last night. I just thought it was rumors, all of that. I was, talking to people on the message board as well, seeing different things. Never really got anything concrete. It's that time of year, right? Like rumors start flying, about, different assistants, recruits, all of that. And of course, today is signing day. So this is probably the worst possible time that something like this could come out, though. I'm told that obviously K-State wanted to wait until the end of the week to announce anything, but shout out to the Manhattan Mercury for putting it out there, being the first ones to do so. I still have bad memories about the whole It's Patterson thing. I'm 38 years old. So this is the third different head coach I've seen Kansas State, fourth different head football coach I've seen Kansas State hire. Like I remember Ron Prince. I remember where I was at. I was in high school gym class when I heard that they were hiring Ron Prince. I remember where I was when they hired Snyder for the second time. I was just leaving my wife's dorm. I don't know where I was going. Like at the time, obviously, boyfriend, girlfriend, and I was getting text messages about Snyder coming back. This is after like a day or so before hearing on Go Power Cat that Gary Patterson, former TCU coach that, won a bunch of conference titles and took him to the Rose Bowl, was going to come to K-State, and then he backed out. I still don't know why. I heard it was from Weefald wanting to bring back Snyder, getting in front of the AD at the time. And then, I remember where I was when they hired Klieman. I was in my kitchen at home when it was confirmed that he was going to be coming to Kansas State. I was not the biggest fan of the hire. I wanted something sexier. I think people wanted Seth Luttrell at the time, which thank goodness Gene Taylor did not, listen to fans because that would have been horrible. But here we are in 2025. Chris Klieman comes to Kansas State. He wins 8 games in 5 out of 7 seasons. He goes to 6 bowl games in 6 out of 7 seasons. He wins a conference championship, which cannot be overstated. Like it was amazing for Kansas State University to have someone other than Bill Snyder win a conference championship. Like, I don't think anyone wanted to follow Bill Snyder, and Chris Klieman was a perfect person to do so. Another blue collar guy, hardworking guy, that, probably faced a bunch of obstacles in his life going from, FCS to Power 4. And no one thought he could do it, including me. So shout out to him for, proving us all wrong. I did not expect him to retire. In fact, I have never called for his job. I thought he was going to come back next year. I'm very excited about next year. So this really came as a shock to me. And we'll touch on the whole, Colin Klein piece here in a little bit, but I just want to talk a little bit about Chris Klieman, what he meant to Kansas State, the timing of this, all of that. He sent a bunch of guys to the NFL. A couple of guys are going to be in the Ring of Honor, Cooper Beebe being one of them. You have a quarterback win you a conference championship that everyone gave up on multiple times. Shout out Will Howard for breaking the school record for career touchdown passes, winning a conference championship, battling the fans, battling Nebraska's all-time everything to win a conference championship. God bless Chris Klieman. Wish him all the best in the future. Absolutely. Absolutely. I am sad he's leaving, but also at the same time, like I'm happy that like he is putting himself first and the family first. Though my understanding is that okay, I think what I've heard is that he's just tired, meaning he's tired of NIL, he's tired of the fans, he's tired of all the changes happening in college football. I think, and obviously he's getting up there in age. I mean, 58 is not really not that old, honestly. Um, I think it's just been wearing on him. It really has. I think the season is worn on him. I think his family stuff from going back to a year ago around the Houston, Arizona State type games, what was happening with his family kind of worn on him. And I just think that he was just ready. My understanding is that it was his decision, not, you know, Gene Taylor's decision, which I do not trust everything that Gene Taylor said today and the whole presser. But you know, who knows? Who knows? He should be in the Ring of Honor. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I will say, Chris Klieman has really gave everything to K-State. I mean, he fired one of his best friends. Um, I mean, he has done everything the right way. Um, he's a good person. He's a great person, actually. Um, he's been amazing. Like, and do I question some of the things he's done? Absolutely. That's just part of being a head coach, right? Part of being, you know, the leader of a Power Four university. But no one gets it perfect anytime. I mean, even Colin Klein, which we're going to touch on here in a little bit, had some bad calls and some bad games. Let's talk about that Tulane game earlier in the 2022 season when K-State won the Big 12 championship. Even he had a bad day, right? Like it happens. But I don't want to understate what he meant to Kansas State, winning 54 games, 8+ wins. Like I said, 5 out of 7 seasons. I mean, when you have 2 different quarterbacks break the school record for passing touchdowns, I mean, you're doing something right. And you're getting 4 and 5-star players, which is, I mean, not really been done since the late 90s, early 2000s. Like, I want to say like Marvin Simmons was like the last 5-star guy. And that was just according to like one publication. And I mean, outside of that, maybe a couple 4-stars here and there, but really for a while there, for about 15, 20 years, Kansas State was not touching any 4-star players really. Like I think Daniel Green was like the first one in a long time. And before that, DeMarcus Robinson. So Chris Klieman was exactly what Kansas State needed. He's exactly what Skylar Thompson needed. Shout out to him for still being an NFL. He's still one of my favorite Kansas State quarterbacks. He's exactly what Will Howard needed. I mean, I don't know if anyone outside of Chris Klieman and Colin Klein trusted Will Howard to do what he did. And he went out and showed everyone they were wrong. Proved them wrong, won a Big 12 championship, broke school records, won a national championship. Now he's in NFL as well. So Chris Klieman, great coach. He will be missed for sure. I wanted him to come back, but I do think the timing was probably right on a lot of different fronts for him. It sounds like family and the whole NIL and all the stuff I touched on earlier, but also like Colin Klein. Now that we're going to touch on that, which Gene Taylor says he doesn't remember if he has this number or not, but he said, I should probably look into that. And people kind of chuckled about that, meaning like that obviously he knows he's going to talk to Colin Klein, right? Like it's already been rumored that's who's going to be taking over for Chris Klieman. And if you listen to the game, came in 1350, like Mitch Fortner, shout out Mitch Fortner from came in. He talked about how like the Mercury and Cayman are owned by the same company. And so he was very privy to the information that was put out today by them, with Ned Seaton putting it out that K-State is going to have Chris Klieman retire. Chris Klieman is going to retire at Kansas State, and that Colin Klein was going to be the new head coach. Like Mitch Fortner said that the same people that were saying Chris Klieman was retiring are the same people that are saying Colin Klein is coming home to Kansas State. And I think that's great. I don't know that there has been a hire at Kansas State outside of maybe Jerome Tang, but in terms of football hires, I don't think that there has been a hire that's kind of brings the fans together like a Colin Klein would, right? Like this is a guy that everyone wants. I mean, they've been calling for him for a year or two at this point. Like fans are very excited. Like I looked up some stats, like his stats are insane. Like he's a genius when it comes to offensive play calling. He's a great person. He's a K-State legacy. His name is on the Ring of Honor, Heisman finalist. He set records at K-State that will never be broken. I mean, like 56 rushing touchdowns as a quarterback. I mean, that's insane. Absolutely insane. Yeah, I agree, but K-State was really close to, having a way better season than they did. And it just, sometimes it happens. And sometimes sometimes the ball just doesn't bounce your way. Yes. So I'm going to get to that. According to Tim Fitzgerald from Go Power Cat, the deal is most likely going to be done probably by Friday. And they are probably going to announce Colin Klein as a new head coach at Saturday's men's basketball game. I think it's at 3:00. They're playing Seton Hall, which, I mean, I hope K-State men's basketball finally gets it figured out, because right now they look awful. And I actually kind of find it funny that Gene Taylor mentioned how good of a coach he is today at the presser. And I'm going to touch on men's basketball here in a minute, comparing it to football, because there's some interesting dynamics when it comes to that. Anyways, Tim Fitzgerald from Go Power Cat, everyone knows who he is, probably the biggest media personality in the city, or the town, I guess he should say, has said that Colin Klein is going to be announced by K-State on Friday, introduced to everyone at Saturday's men's basketball game. I've checked flights for tomorrow. There is no information there. There's any private jets or anything, just regular flights for tomorrow, but that doesn't mean something's not going to be added or added on Friday. I'm assuming there's going to be some Zoom calls and they're happening. But I think, like, hearing what Gene Taylor said today probably took a couple of Kansas State fans like aback a little bit to feel like, okay, I thought like Colin Klein was a done deal. I personally feel like Gene Taylor wanted to only talk about Chris Klieman today. Today was Klieman's day. Today was his day to say, I'm retired. Look at what I've done at Kansas State. And he talked about it ad nauseum during his presser today. Today was Klieman's day. Colin Klein will have his day when he gets hired, and it will be Friday and Saturday, somewhere in that time frame. I don't know the details or anything like that, just what I've heard. That's when it should be. Now, I think it's a great hire. I think he's a genius, like I talked about. He's going to have some SEC ties. He's going to have some old K-State ties. I do expect probably Cody Cook to come back as wide receiver coach. He's at Old Dominion right now. I expect Blake Seiler to come back as a DC or linebackers or D-line coach. I do expect some, not all, but some Kansas State coaches to stay. LePack will probably stay. Maybe Klanderman, maybe Anderson as coach, as a running backs coach. I don't know. I mean, we'll see. We'll see. And it's also interesting that they haven't said that, Klieman's going to coach a bowl game or not. It's been rumored out there that Colin Klein will continue coaching A&M in their college football playoff run, which I think is what's best for everyone. So when it comes to Tang, so what's interesting is that in terms of football versus basketball, I mean, Bill Snyder, yes, he was trending downward back in like 15, 16, 17, and 18, but like he had like one losing season and then he gets, forced to resign, is what everyone's said. I don't know how it obviously went down, but that's what I've been told, that he was forced to resign. And I've also been told that had he won that game when K-State was up 17 points in the fourth quarter at Iowa State, he would still be the head coach at Kansas State. So it's kind of interesting, like one bad season and he gets forced to resign. One mediocre season here by Klieman. Now, granted, he did have one losing season during a COVID year, but even during a COVID year, had we had some more non-con games, Kansas State probably goes 6-6, and he goes 7 for 7 in terms of going to bowl games in his 7 years at Kansas State. So, I mean, you look at like one mediocre season out of the 6 seasons outside of COVID, and he's retiring. Like that's the bar at Kansas State. Whether or not that is fair or not, I personally do not think that's fair. I think that the expectations, of course, I want conference championships. Of course, I want my alma mater, my two-time alma mater, Kansas State Wildcats, to do great in football. Of course, but I don't think I think those expectations are way too high, way too high. Now, granted, it can be done. Obviously, Bill Snyder's shown it can be done, But I mean, to force a coach to resign after one bad season, to have a guy retire after one mediocre season, I mean, that just shows a difference between basketball, where Bruce Weber got 3 bad years of missing the tournament before he was fired. And now we're on the verge of another 3 straight seasons of Jerome Tang possibly missing the tournament. And he is still the head coach for the basketball team. Like, the expectations for football versus basketball are vastly different. Whether or not that's fair or not, I guess that's up to Gene Taylor, right? And that's a whole other thing about if he's ever going to retire or when that's going to happen. But I feel like the expectations are too high for football, but I get it. I mean, K-State's sold out, 25, 26 consecutive games. I mean, K-State should be one of the premier brands in the Big 12, post Texas and Oklahoma, and of course A&M and Missouri and Nebraska all leaving the conference, right? K-State should be in the upper echelon of those teams. And back to back seasons, Kansas State has underperformed. They've still won 8 or 9 games in 2 out of those 3 seasons. Sorry, guys. But still, they've gone to a bowl game all 3 seasons, having 2 different quarterbacks, by the way, break school records. I don't know. I just feel like the expectations are unfairly high, considering this is Manhattan, Kansas. I just do. So I don't know. Klieman shouldn't coach a bowl game. I think he's just done. I would like him to coach a bowl game, but it sounds like to me that I agree. It sounds like he's just done. Colin went out on his own terms, but there is a possibility the big donors push this. You never know, right? Like, it's hard to know how much of what Gene Taylor said to believe. Like, I believe probably half of what he said. You know what I mean? He put his arm around Klieman and said, "You're not going anywhere, buddy," after the Utah game, when that was a crazy presser after that game. And that kind of made some fans upset because, of course, again, they wanted Colin Klein. They didn't like the direction of the program. I mean, they're at 5-6 at that point. Like, and, shout out Mason Voth saying, I also think that he said this, not me. Mason Voth said, I think that Gene Taylor putting his arm around him, going up there, and kind of also stopped Klieman from saying more things that would have divided him and the fans even more, considering how this season has gone. So I think first and foremost, I think him and Gene Taylor, right or wrong, are too close of friends for this to work longer than it has. Like, it's worked for a long time. What he's done for Kansas State is phenomenal. What Gene Taylor, for the most part, has done for Kansas State is phenomenal. But at some point, there was going to be a conflict of interest, just like Klieman and Courtney Messingham, right? Like, at some point, someone wasn't going to do their job to the best of their ability, or the results weren't just going to be there, right? At some point, that was going to happen. Unfortunately, it is happening right now for Kansas State. And again, whether or not people agree with it, I don't agree with it. It feels like the expectations are unfairly high for Kansas State's head football coach. But if there's one guy that I trust to right the ship, even though he's never been a head coach before, it is Colin Klein. I think he's phenomenal. I think he's a good person. He knows what it takes at Kansas State. He knows that NIL is important. He knows how to win. Look at him. Like, he did things as a player and as a coach. He's the only person to win a conference championship at Kansas State as a player and a coach. The only person. Now I'd like to see him win it as well as a head coach. So, and winning the conference championship is really the only way Kansas State will ever get to the college football playoff, unless they expand it to like 16 to 24 teams. And even then, let's just get all 16 SEC teams in there. Then everyone else can fill the remaining spots, right? Like, that's just how it is. Nothing's changed. Like, if you look at BYU, they were unfairly ranked as well. Like, they should be in the top 10. They should be in the college football playoff right now, but they're not, because they're not Alabama, because they're not Penn State, or even Deion Sanders in Colorado. Like, Kenny and I talked about how if, BYU was Colorado, they would 100% be in the top 10 because of Deion. That's just the way it is. Whether or not it's fair or not, it's not. It's just the way it is. So for Kansas State, if Kansas State was 11-1 right now, they would probably be in the same spot or worse than BYU. Nothing's changed. Like, Kansas State would have to win a conference championship to be in the college football playoff. And that's what I think. That's where Kansas State needs to be. And I think Colin Klein can get them back there, because in 2022, if the 12-team playoff was happening, Kansas State would have been in there because, of course, they won the Big 12 championship. Yes, I think that Avery Johnson will be back next year. I mean, Colin Klein was a guy who recruited him. He grew up watching him play. I mean, he idolized him. I mean, he remembers him calling plays. I mean, like I said earlier, Colin Klein's a genius. If you watch him call plays, if you watch their offense, I mean, it's impressive. It's very, very, very impressive. I don't see any way Avery Johnson doesn't come back unless he feels like he's worth more in terms of money than Kansas State's willing to offer. That's the only way I see him not coming back. Don't worry about transfers till Klein is here. Yeah, I mean, I don't worry about transfers at all. The only person that I would worry about transferring would be Jace, but even then, like, I feel like he's done just about as much as he possibly could at Kansas State without winning a conference title. If he goes to NFL, totally get it. If he goes to the portal because he feel like he's worth more than Kansas State will give him, totally get that as well. He's been great for Kansas State, the best offensive weapon this past season. Totally get it. I think Avery will do much better with Avery. I think Matt Wells is gone. Okay. I'm assuming you're saying you think Avery will do much better with Colin Klein than he did with Matt Wells. If so, I agree. I think Matt Wells was not necessarily the problem this year, but he also wasn't necessarily like the answer either. Like he had some issues, a lot of issues, specifically in that Baylor game, specifically in an Oklahoma State game, specifically in that Colorado game. I mean, I think it was midway through the third quarter before Kansas State finally passed it on first down, even though Colorado was loading the box. So, I mean, Matt Wells, he's kind of just a guy's like, I'm going to do things my way. And if you don't like it, that's your problem versus saying, okay, this is what the defense is giving me. Let's change it up. And that's where Colin Klein really, really, really excels. Yep. I thought so. I don't think he was bad. I think Klieman was worse this year. Kansas State was scored one fewer point in conference play than BYU did, and BYU's playing for a conference championship. The problem was Kansas State's defense was in the bottom half in terms of points allowed in the Big 12. That cannot happen. If your offense scores 47 at Utah, you should not lose that game. If your offense scores 34 at Baylor, you should not lose that game. They couldn't get off the field against Army. They couldn't get off the field against Iowa State. I mean, it was bad. Now, there were a couple games, Colorado, Oklahoma State, Arizona. For the most part, they were fine in those games. But, I mean, that's what, 3 out of 12 games that the defense was good. All the other games, I mean, they gave up 35 to North Dakota. The defense, in my opinion, was a bigger issue. And as a head coach, again, I want to say how great Chris Klieman was for Kansas State. He's a defensive guy. The defense was not good this year. It just wasn't. It just wasn't. So, again, I just want to say we wish Chris Klieman well. He did great things for Kansas State. He was the right guy at the right time. He showed that Bill Snyder isn't the only one that can win a conference championship at Kansas State, which, of course, Bill Snyder, from what I've been told, I haven't spoken to him, which, by the way, I was at Bill Snyder's press conference when he was rehired at Kansas State. I remember that. I remember being there because I was a journalism student at the time at Kansas State working at the newspaper. So I remember going to that. But from what I've been told, his family is somewhat arrogant, thinking that him or his son were the only people that could ever win at Kansas State. Chris Klieman proved them wrong. He proved Kansas State fans wrong, Kansas State media wrong, everyone wrong, time after time. And he did great things at Kansas State. Now, did he do as good as Bill Snyder did? No, but that's a different time and a different era when, Kansas State was going to the JUCOs and getting guys that were, an afterthought. And the JUCOs are not what they once were. They are nowhere close to where they once were. And Kansas State is dipping back into that. There are some good players you can get there. But for the most part, they are not what they once were. They're just not. But again, Chris Klieman, the right guy at the right time for Kansas State. Just like I believe Colin Klein will unite this fan base. He is the right guy at the right time. I was told that he was going to go to South Florida before coming to Kansas State in terms of being a head coach. He was going to be a head coach somewhere. So maybe that would have been a good, resume builder for him. But I'm just so glad to bring him home. I remember where I was when I found out he was going to Texas A&M, and I remember being so mad and sad at the same time. I totally get it. Like, you want to build your resume, dip into the SEC, see if that offense, you know, is successful against SEC defenses. It turned out it was. Hope so, man. I hope so. Good and bad. Big guy, by the way. He stood in front of me at a K-State basketball game. Huge guy. And I'm big. I'm 6'2", about 250. And the guy's makes me look small. By the way, I was next to Uso one time at Target in Manhattan. I felt small next to him as well. That is right. Chris Klieman never lost to Kansas State. Neither did Colin Klein either. Yeah, it'll be lethal. Kansas State's offense will be lethal. Yeah, I'm excited for it. Again, today was Chris Klieman's day. That's why I think Gene Taylor did not really touch on the coaching stuff, like future coaches, because he wanted today to only be Chris Klieman's day. Totally get that. His drinking buddy, his, coworker that, again, for better or for worse, sometimes buddies who work together, it doesn't always work out good. It works out great when things are rolling, when you're winning, but when you're not, it's not a good look. I mean, Klieman's been under fire by the fans. Gene Taylor really has been under fire lately by the fans and by the media. But it looks like if he does, in fact, hire Colin Klein, which again looks like that's likely possible because the same people that were reporting that Klieman is going to retire are the same people that are reporting that Colin Klein is coming to Kansas State. So I expect that to happen. I think that's a home run hire. Second straight home run hire for the fans, but sometimes the fans don't always know what's best for their university, right? That's just the way it is sometimes. So hopefully Colin Klein gets Kansas State back to the promised land. I think he will, but we can dive back into that more whenever he is hired. So yeah, they did hire a new coach. They did. Everyone was worried about Klein going somewhere else. I was worried about him going to somewhere else in SEC, and Kansas State never even getting him at all. Like, I was worried about him going to Oklahoma State as well. And I don't know how many jobs he passed over. Obviously, he passed on the Notre Dame OC job a couple years ago before going to A&M. But I don't know how many other head coaching jobs he interviewed for and how many he actually wanted. But yeah, that was another one. USF and Oklahoma State are two that he was linked to. USF was actually one he was more close to probably getting. But yeah, I think that Colin Klein's going to do great at Kansas State. Now, the biggest questions are, who is he going to hire as his coordinators? Who is he going to retain? I would probably guess half of his staff that he hires will be non-Kansas State people, like people he knows in the profession that are not from Kansas State, and the other half will probably be people that he has ties with from Kansas State, whether it's Jake Waters or Cody Cook or Blake Seiler or coaches currently on staff. I think half will be people he already knows with Kansas State ties. I think the other half will probably should honestly be new blood, because this program desperately needs new blood, considering the amount of bros that they keep hiring. Like, let's just promote from within. Let's keep the bro game going, right? Here's another friend of mine. Let's just promote him, right? Like, I think sometimes it's good. It worked with Colin Klein, obviously, when he was promoted to OC, but sometimes it doesn't work so good. And I'm excited to see how that all shakes down. I'm still excited to see Kansas State playing a bowl game. Looks like it's going to be the Independence Bowl, could be the Rate Bowl, could be the Liberty Bowl, could be a couple different bowls. We broke that down yesterday. So Casey said, I met Colin Klein years ago when he was coaching at Northern Iowa. That's right. He spent a year or two there coaching quarterbacks, I believe. And you and I upset Iowa State in Ames, and I got his autograph and picture with him after the game in Ames. That's amazing. That is absolutely amazing. That's a great, great, great memory for you. That's awesome, bro. I don't think I've ever actually met Colin Klein in person. I may have met him. I mean, I worked at the newspaper in college, so I may have interviewed him a time or two, but he really came onto the scene like when I graduated. Like 2011 was his breakout year, and I graduated in May 2011 from my undergrad. So, and then obviously 2012 was his Heisman campaign. So I was already out of school. I remember him catching touchdowns as a wide receiver. I remember him coming in to just run the ball. I think Kansas State threw the ball 7 times or less, maybe 4 times against Texas when I was a student. So I don't know if I ever actually met him in person, but I don't know. That'd be cool to meet him in person. Yeah. Again, I'm excited for him to. His family's sick and he's getting ready for work, so it just didn't turn out well for him to join me tonight. But hopefully, we can get on live tomorrow, break down BYU versus Texas Tech, and then Saturday go live during the game for that Big 12 championship game. If not, it might just be me. Hopefully you guys don't mind just having me. So yeah, he just had some family stuff going on and some work stuff. So friend of mine that I met through church or friends of Klein. So that's how I got to meet him. Yeah. I remember seeing Shaylin Klein's post about her time at Kansas State before they went to A&M, and she ended the whole Gig'em thing. And I remember feeling just sad and mad. The Gig'em thing pissed me off at the end, considering Kansas State lost to A&M in a 98 Big 12 championship game. I remember watching that in my living room at the Random Woods house, which is the house I grew up in, but out by the airport. So that kind of really pissed me off. But also I remember listening to her podcast she did with someone else, because I don't know who it was. It was some lady that she interviews coaches' wives, and she was on there, and it was really interesting. Like, his wife seemed really cool. His wife seemed really, really, really cool. So yeah, I'm excited for Colin Klein to come in again. I thank Klieman for what he did for Kansas State. I do think the expectations are unfairly high, but that's just the way college football is in 2025 with the amount of money that is being poured into this sport. So it's a business at this point. It just is. So I cannot wait either. I'm excited. We will see when it is announced. It looks like it'll be announced Friday or Saturday for Colin Klein. And it looks like, from CK to CK, right? Like, yeah, it used to be like CK. And then for Collin, it was like CK7 or Optimus or whatever. Right. But now it's just CK. So I'm excited for what he's going to do for Kansas State. If that is who they hire, which it looks like they are. I'm excited for the rest of the season. I'm excited to watch A&M play in the CFPs if Colin Klein does come to Kansas State, so I can see, the type of offense they run. I've only watched them play a couple of times, but they're a very, very, very impressive team for sure. That is unbelievable considering they had a $20 million roster just like a year or two ago. So yeah. Anyways, that's my thoughts on Chris Klieman retiring. When I heard about it, my thoughts on Colin Klein, my thoughts on the program. I do think it was the right time. I think I think the expectations are way too high. But that's just the way it is. That's just the way it is in 2025. So that's a live stream, and make sure you guys like, subscribe, tell your friends, consider joining the channel. Just $1.99 to support Kenny and I. We only have one channel member. So if you guys want to join, click that join button below. Texas has some athletes, bro. That's the video. Go Big 12. Go Cats. Thank you to Chris Klieman. And I'm excited again for Colin Klein. Email, baby.